Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Melissa Morrison. I'm an educational and child psychologist. I am based in the local authority in Birmingham, but also in private practice. I've been practicing as a psychologist for 9 years. I know I might look like a baby to some, but I am well versed in psychology. And I also go by the sporty ed psych. So I'd like to call myself an everyday athlete. I train weightlifting and functional fitness, and I compete a lot. And part of my practice is about bringing sport and exercise and merging that with educational psychology to improve outcomes for children and young people right up into their early adulthood and beyond. So I'm looking forward to being part of the panel and dropping my 2 cents here and there, and seeing what value I can offer everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Casey, and I am a menstrual cycle and cyclical living educator. So, talk a lot about the menstrual cycle, try and bridge that gap in knowledge, try and make the conversations around menstrual cycles and periods every day very normal. I think it's really important that women and young girls are able to open and talk freely around menstrual cycles and be able to channel that and understand that we are cyclical beings and that we aren't supposed to be the same every single day. And that's fine. And we can absolutely arm ourselves with that knowledge in everyday life. So that's what I try to do.
Thank you so much. Can we give us some love, please? Thank you. Thank you so much. And to our next guest.
Hi everyone, my name is Dahlia, and I basically I nearly died 15 years ago, so I turned the whole situation around. I can talk about it later because it's a long story, but I've turned it around into health and empowerment, especially for us as women, because I believe that we need to take our health under control. Yeah.
What's this?
Oh, this is my book that I've actually created a book for the health benefits of the products that have actually cured me. So it's on Amazon if anyone's interested. But if you do want to buy it today, it's 25% off.
Do you want to turn it this way as well while you're talking? Thank you. Carry on. 25% off.
Yes, 25%. It's normally $35.99 on Amazon, but today I was doing it for us as women. Sorry, guys.
Thank you so much. Can you give us some love, please? Thank you so much. And our final panelist.
I'm Kirsty Bavington. I'm 2 times European champion professional boxer, and I'm a PE teacher. So for the last 11 years, I've been a PE teacher, as well as boxing, and also I'm an ex-semi-professional footballer. So I was doing a lot at the time, but now I've just stopped and just doing professional boxing.
Okay. So for the last discussion for the afternoon, we are going to be talking about menstruation and menopause mainly, and what that means in terms of how we as women understand our bodies, how we engage and listen to our bodies, as well as what some of the stigmas are that still exist in our workplaces and society as women around these topics. So I think the first question I want to ask is, we know it's quite a taboo subject, and it's to be on a panel like this, you've got to have some insight. So where did you gain your insight around menopause and or menstrual cycles?
Shall I?
Yeah, can you?
Okay, I'll go first. Mine was off the back of my own turmoil. I was nearly diagnosed with bipolar disorder because was just getting really extreme moods. 1 minute absolutely fine, next minute in the deepest depression and suicidal, just awful, having a really rough time with life in general. I was in a very high stress corporate job. And I just wasn't in a good place, couldn't function. I'm a lone parent and I couldn't parent at all. It was just really hard to just do everything. So I had to really lean on my community, the people around me to help me do the mundane things like school run, get my son dressed, because I just couldn't get out of bed. So anyway, I went to the doctors. They said, we think it's bipolar disorder, because 1 minute I would be fine. And then next minute I was just in the pits, just, horrible. And it was only because I had a conversation with my mum that she was like, I don't think it is that. Like, I really don't. I think we need to start looking into this properly. And I did, went away and kind of did my own research and just really got to know me. I think a huge part of being a woman is you have to know yourself and going on that journey of self-awareness. So I did do that. And upon lots of research of myself, looking at patterns, I'm quite a strategist, so I like to look at the bigger picture, what's going on here and what's going on there. Long story short, found out that I had PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and it's basically in the luteal phase, so on the run up to your period, the rise in progesterone almost clashes with your nervous system, and that can manifest in bodies like with depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety, and that's exactly what was happening with me. So when I spoke to the doctor and I was like, okay, cool, that's it then. So what's this kind of, what can you do to help me? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what's next? We know now. So what's happening? And he was like, nothing, we haven't got, there is no support. The only thing really we can do is treat the symptoms, which is antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, and off you go. Yeah. So then I thought that I need to do something to kind of just be able to function. So took the medication, but I thought this can't be a long-term plan for me. So that's when I kind of went on a further discovery of like, what do I need? What does my body need? And actually my answer was menstrual cycle awareness. It was understanding my needs through the different phases of my cycle, and basically overhauling my life, quitting the job, like changing everything, changing my life, changing my diet, changing the way that I move, supporting myself, supporting my nervous system. And that was 4 years ago. And I've had kind of been symptom free for 2 years now. And this was me, every single month I'd be in the pits. I'd just not be able to get out of bed, and just, symptoms have just gone. Oh. So and it was all through menstrual cycle awareness, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
So that was
a big story.
Yeah, that was that's how I then learned what it was. I didn't even know what a menstrual cycle was. I just tracked my period. Like, okay, so I'm due on, and that's it. So I could go on holiday, things like that. But then kind of understood that there's other phases, and they really matter as well. We need to know them.
Okay.
In regards to how I learn about, the menstrual cycle, or, where my insights came from, I think I learned on the go. So I think most women can testify it happens, and then you start learning, because in school the curriculum doesn't really cover, the cycles for women in depth. No. So, you have to kind of learn as you go. And I think, we think about society and culture, periods and menstrual cycles, they're really taboo. And, for some it's seen as dirty, it's seen as unclean. For some it's seen as womanhood. It just depends on what stance you take. So what stance you take impacts on what information you got exposed to. I can truly say that my insights about menstrual cycles and menopause, cycles as a woman, have come from most recent years, because there's been a lot of advancement in the research and the education that's come out as a result of all of these conversations. And I think personally for me, I've had to become more open with my learning and more reflective with my learning because of my training. So, as I mentioned before, I do like weightlifting and functional fitness, where I have a coach, and I'm sure you'll be able to speak on this as well, and you have to follow a certain program. And we'd notice that my performance would fluctuate from week to week, and I wouldn't really understand why until, I was told to, start tracking and start paying attention to phases and moods and swings, and, and that knowledge, using that knowledge to our advancement, to our power. I know we've said it's taboo and it's hush hush, but the more knowledge and the insight can be used, manipulated in a positive way, and that's definitely contributed to what I know now. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of similar to both, really, because of the intensity of my training and training 2-3 times a day. I felt like my cycle had to be kind of stopped. So I went on to like the everyday pill. So it kind of stopped me from having anything, because obviously in boxing you have to manage your weight. So if my weight was going up and down during the months, like so for example, say I'm fighting on Saturday and I would come on my period, like I wouldn't know, because I'm not tracking it properly. then it would be a problem. So I've gone on to like everyday kind of contraception, and then I started getting the same symptoms as you. I was getting migraines like 2 weeks before I was coming on. I was getting depressed, anxious. I didn't know where I was. I was at work, and then I went to the doctors, and they said, "Look, you got PMDD. What would you like to do?" And then they doubled up my medication, so I was on the same medication, but just taking 2 pills instead of 1, and it was kind of working. But then, like, I was still getting the depression and anxiety, and I was just some days just like didn't want to train. I was like, but I've got to. Like, I've got a massive fight coming up. Like, you know, I'm on Sky Sports. Like, I've got to train. And yeah, so I ended up, to be fair, I ended up going on antidepressants, and I'm still on them now. But I feel like I had to, because I feel okay now after a few months. But yeah, I think you just, through the sport, I just had to get on with it and just do what's best for the sport. Because I put sport probably before my body, in that sense. Yeah.
Right.
I'm coming back to that. I'm coming back.
No worries. I just want to say there, I mean, we've got as women, we're not taught, properly on our bodies. And we need to learn more about our bodies, basically, because our bodies speak to us, and we're the only ones that know our bodies. So basically, I fell into preeclampsia. I didn't know anything about health.
What is preeclampsia?
Okay, so preeclampsia, you ever heard of a prem baby? So that's when the baby not getting enough nutrients, etc. So I didn't believe in health, to be honest with you. This was 15, 16 years ago. So I was just eating whatever I want, doing whatever I want, because I thought, because I'm young, I can do whatever. So until I got pregnant, I was 5 months pregnant, and basically one day I got up and I had a lot of pain in my stomach, so I thought maybe I had something to eat. But then this pain escalated to my heart, and by the time the ambulance got there, my blood pressure hit 300. I was rushed to the hospital. There's nothing that they could do. They pronounced me practically dead, basically. So I fell into a coma, and after I was in the coma for 3 days, and the baby was just 2 pounds, and I was just 5 months pregnant at the time. So they didn't know what to do. So I believe there's a God, because there's no way your blood pressure can hit 300 and just still stand with a stroke or a heart attack. So after the coma, I felt like a total different person. I woke up and I had false knowledge of things I didn't know about, basically. So then I discharged myself. I was in the hospital for 6 months, and they couldn't help me. I was under a lot of medication. After medication, it was making me put a lot of weight on. I was depressed. I wanted to end my life because it was so depressing, to be honest. You get up, you can't walk, you can't do anything. So, and not forgetting my baby that nearly died as well. So I discharged myself after 6 months, went home, and I prayed and asked God to, you took me out of this situation. So please help me, to get some insight on what I need to do for myself and my baby. So then I started researching. I researched on every channel you can think of, but it just confusing me even more. So then I spoke to quite a few doctors, like Dr. Sebi, etc. And then they told me what I needed to do. So being a doctor, I love talking to doctors, and they give you so much insight. But I decided to choose something that was suitable for my body, that my body liked. So I decided I started juicing just kale. I know it sounds crazy, but just kale. And I couldn't walk. I was diagnosed with ME, hypertension, high cholesterol, ME, the whole lot. So I went home, couldn't walk, got to the stage where I couldn't walk. Then I actually started the juicing. And after the juicing, after drinking 1 glass of it, keep it stuff, I had to find a way to get my nutrients in, because I wasn't eating, couldn't eat. I was just sicking it back up due to the medication. So then started juicing, and by 3 months started to lose the weight, because went from a 12 to a 16 in a few months. And
Last question: what were some of the most uncomfortable conversations that you were having with professionals during that time, in terms of like your health?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a private person,
Yeah.
and I didn't like the fact that I had to tell them certain things that was happening to me.
Yeah.
Like with the prick, because I didn't understand about preeclampsia then, so I had to teach myself about preeclampsia, and they told me a little bit about it, but it's just getting it all in. But it was really uncomfortable talking about my periods because my periods weren't coming anymore, or when they do come, it was floodgates. So those are the things. But it was very uncomfortable. But then I find that when I started the juicing on my days, everything just came back. My period came back normal. I'd lost all the weight. I started walking. I started conversing with people because scared. Emmy makes you scared of conversing with people.
Yeah.
So then I was literally going around talking to people and telling people how good the stuff was. And then I actually went to college while I was sick, just to get myself, just to know that am I really seeing something? Is it real? I'm walking, I'm talking, I'm doing all this stuff. So it was really exciting at the time. So then I decided to book myself on a course,
Yeah.
a 6 months course, and decided to start juicing, find different flavors, etc. Because there's, even though you can, you may be able to juice, you have to be careful what proportions and what juice you're mixing. You can mix alkalinity with acidity, which is not good for you.
Right.
So then I learned all that, and then I went further and further, and then I did one juice, and after the one juice, it went to 6 juices because we're all helping women like ourselves and men as well. And so I decided to do a book from the same ingredients, and then also I've also done a cream, a serum, and a mask as well for people with allergies as well. Yeah.
I think I wanna come back to Kirsty because I'm really kind of curious about the knowledge of women's health in sport and how much we, number one, don't know, and how much of that has an impact on the women in that are actually in sport.
But we're not really told it as athletes. Even from young and playing football for, I was at Wolves and I was at Centre of Excellence. We're not told about that side. We're told about nutrition. We're not told about your cycles or what's going to happen or the weight that you put on. And even now as a professional boxer, it's just like we're expected to just make the weight and no excuses beyond that. So we're not really told much on that.
What do you think? What would you, if you could like have a conversation with your younger self? What would you have liked to have known, or what would you have had liked to for the sports industry to have implemented for you?
I think with the football, when I play football, it was. I think if you get the team together and you talk about it as a girls' team, then and explain what's going on, what's happening to your body, and especially in schools, especially during sports, what's going to happen, and because obviously being a PE teacher, the amount of notes you get for oh, I'm not doing PE because I'm on my period, I'm not doing swimming, not doing this, that, and it's just like, come on, it's just like we all have to go through it, and it's just a part of life. Just get on with it. But this is implemented from parents. This is implemented from like for years. You know what I mean? So it's just getting over that as well. And as a professional boxer, because there's not many of us, and I was one of the first for like the last 7 years. I was one of the first professionals in the country. It's not non-existent in terms of knowledge and people talk to you about it. I've known professional boxers that have come on their period the night before weighing, and they've used that. I mean, they could have put £6 on, but they've used that as an excuse sometimes of not making the weight. So it's kind of just like that as well. Yeah.
Interesting, really interesting.
Can I jump in there?
I was going to come to you. Yeah.
Sorry. I think some of this goes down to the education of the coaches as well, because, as women in sport or girls in sport, we're really reliant on the guidance of the more knowledgeable others to kind of lead the way. We have our own personal experiences. I think there's a responsibility on us to practice being more open with them. but also there's a bit of responsibility on the coaches or the staff to kind of upskill themselves in these really important areas. So, for example, as I mentioned earlier, I've had to drill into my coach my cycles. That sounds awkward to say, but you know,
What's awkward about it?
I think it's just that tabooness. You know, my coach is a male, you know, he's a 45-year-old basketball player. And for me to go up to him and be like, now is the time, you know, took a lot of work, but that knowledge helped him to capitalize on my performance. So he understands Mel is going to peak this week. So I want to give her this exercise because I know she's going to be strong. Whereas in the luteal phase, she's going to get sassy with me and I have to kind of strip this back and give her more manageable workouts, you know, something that she can still achieve in this phase. And I think it's just that knowledge going forward. You know, women are in sport because we love the sport. We want to, you know, we don't want our bodies to be a barrier to us being able to participate and enjoy. And I think it's just that collaboration in terms of us being more open and honest. Everybody's different. Everybody experiences their cycles in a different way as well, which is important for us to be more open. But it's those who are in positions of power and guidance to work with us so that we can enjoy as well.
I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
So I think I want to ask, in terms of education, what do you, in terms of what we're hearing on the panel, how much of this do you hear, Casey, in it just everyday women?
Yeah. I think I always say we don't know what we don't know. So even having this as a kind of a business and this is what I do for work, it's bizarre because people are like, women are like, what is the import? Why is this even a business? Why is this even needed? And it's like, oh my God. And it really makes me sad even hearing that, because it's like, why is it that the only way that we can do certain things is to suppress it? You know, like, and I just, that makes me a little bit like, oh, it's our bodies, it's our biology. So it shouldn't, it's a shame that we are where we are, and hopefully this will change for kind of the next generation, especially in the next generation of sport, that it is considered that actually this is going to happen, and it's going to be people that, how can we, instead of trying to make say boxing, for example, it's a woman doing boxing, and we're just going to make that woman almost fit into how a man does the sport, instead of doing that. And it's like, let's adjust the sport to suit women. And I think it's the balance. It's finding the balance. Yeah, well, yeah. Is it finding the balance? Or actually, is that okay? Is that just enough? You know, like, it's okay that we should do things in different ways. We're not all the same. We are not built like men. And yeah, but back to your answer, back to your question.
So I totally agree with what you're saying. We're not built like men.
But then I feel like we want to be equal to a male.
Who?
In terms of,
yeah.
no, as in like,
Don't use that rule with me.
as in like we want to prove that we're just as good
Yeah.
or better
In different ways.
But that's, yeah, but
like if there was to change the rules on certain things because of us
we
in
aren't the same.
cycles.
Yeah,
Then
and I think that what is really important is that we're not the same, and I think that's why we have the issues that we do. Like, I know 1000% I had PMDD because I was fitting into a 9 to 5 and working like I don't mother and mother like I don't work. You know, like, that is, I was giving everything to everybody else, and my body was like, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm shutting down. And how that is, I'm going to massively clash with a phase, and you're going to feel the repercussions of that. And I think that when we're trying to force ourselves into a mold that was never made for us, it's going to come out in other ways. And I don't think we can absolutely still be equal and on equal playing field with a man by adjusting to, it's almost like, I don't know, a physical disability, and then saying that I want to run, but I have no legs. You know, like, we can adjust for that race, for that individual. So yeah, and I don't know the answer. I don't know how to do that, but I think it is going to be a massive thing about education. I think it's really important that we talk about this and how we aren't the same, and that's okay. And then we need to adjust accordingly.
So how do you see women in relation to them? So how do women see how do you see women in relation to them, how they trust themselves? Because what I'm hearing in this conversation is that actually I want to be able to trust me
Yeah.
and my judgment as a woman and my understanding of myself as a woman. But actually, society says
Right.
I've got to perform like a man, or not calling that. Sorry, not saying that's what you're saying. But I'm saying actually,
you're
sometimes society does say I have to perform as like a man, as a woman,
does, yeah.
or I have to show up in a particular style or form that doesn't align. So what I'm asking is how much of our ways of being, or how much of us as women do we actually trust ourselves with the narrative of femininity, because of
Yeah.
social constructs.
Yeah. And I can only speak for myself, and I didn't. I always say I looked for all the answers outside of me to try and work out, how can I fix myself?
Yeah.
How can I fix me? Because I just always felt like I was lagging, or I was behind, or I was wrong, I was faulty of some sorts. And I always say, like, for me, my kind of umbrella was menstrual cycle awareness. And so once I understood my menstrual cycle, it stemmed out into so many other things. It stemmed out into like boundary setting, how I am as a mom, you know, how I show up at work, how I am able to show up in relationships and friendships. Because for me, it was almost like that permission slip of like, oh, I'm not supposed to be the same every day. But it was a massive, almost like going back to scratch and going, you're not wrong. This is just how it's showing up in your body. And actually, I'll talk to you tomorrow, or I'll talk to you later, and it's going to show up completely different for you as well. And that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means we are all individual women.
Yeah.
And everything is going to show up differently because of our experience as well. But the self-trust thing, like I said, I can only speak for myself, but I didn't trust myself at all. The amount of money I paid to other people to try and fix me, to try and tell me what, like, this is the label for you, and this is, you know, whatever, this is the treatment that you're going to have. Because I remember working in a job and just going, why does this feel so hard all the time? What, like, I'm looking at my male colleagues. I used to work in sales. I used to look at all my male colleagues, and they're like on fire every single day. And I'm like, I feel awful. Like, how is that not annoying you, what they just said in that meeting? Because I want to punch them. Like, that's not fair what they just said.
I think it's all right. I feel that way when you're in meetings.
Yeah. But I just, you know, like, I just felt like, but then the week after, or, you know, a couple of weeks later, it was like water for ducks back, like, oh, whatever, I can't, doesn't matter. But then other weeks, it would infuriate me. And it's like, how is that not bothering you? And it's because that's just how it shows up with me. And
But that's okay.
that's it. But it took me so long to understand that that's okay. So, because I always felt like I was wrong. You know, that I felt like, I just didn't trust myself.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, that I suppose people can get to that journey in different ways.
Yeah.
I got to that journey from learning about my menstrual cycle and knowing that I'm not going to show up the same week on week, day on day. And, you know, obviously with the PMDD, that was a different issue because I needed to help myself and support myself with that. But, you know, like, just regardless of that, I just needed to support myself because I was just all the time and just literally pouring out to everybody else and never supporting myself and never helping me, or going, it's all right, Casey, just stop, you know, you.
I think I've always really trusted myself, in the sense that I kind of trusted myself enough to be curious to find information.
Oh, 100%. Curiosity is a massive thing.
Massive.
I didn't at all. Yeah.
So even like, who remembers Brooke? Anybody remember Brooke? Right? So I remember being curious enough to be able to say, like, do you know what, actually? So, you know what Brooke is?
No.
So Brooke was a teenage sexual health drop-in centre
Oh, right. Okay.
in town.
Oh, I'm not from here. Okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
Right? I was thinking, I don't know
it was
what
in
Brooke is.
Birmingham. So
Okay.
we've now got umbrella services, whereas we used to have Brooke.
Okay.
And I know Wolverhampton have got services as well. So I was always curious enough to kind of say, let me go and find out,
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
what's going on over there, or if I wanted to explore something, let me go and ask some questions.
Yeah.
And I think that level of curiosity is really, really important.
Yeah. And that's what I work with my clients now. I always say, please lead with curiosity.
Lead with
because it doesn't
curiosity,
mean
yeah.
that you're wrong. It just means you just need to maybe ask a different question about yourself, or 100. Yeah. And I think with leaders in organisations as well, leading with curiosity is huge about their workforce, because not everybody's going to be the same.
How many of the girls and young women that you work with are curious about their own bodies?
Oh, I think it varies. I think you've got the, you know, girls who are quite reactive things happen and it's like, okay, now let me find out. And then I think the education system does us some favors with initial knowledge, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, what does this mean? But I think, I love what you said. It's about us being a little bit more active, younger, about plugging knowledge gaps sooner. So we don't want thinking about young teenage girls growing up where they feel like they have to push through pain, or they have to perform, or they have to do this when their bodies are screaming otherwise. So it's really it's really important, because it exposes them to a lot more risk that they have to walk through in their womanhood. They don't know how to pick up on green flags. They don't know how to pick up on red flags. And that curiosity is so important. And just removing that taboo, that gendered language, that, get young girls asking questions sooner, being more inquisitive, and us as adults not shutting them down, because I think we contribute to the problems when our young girls in their adolescence, think about seasons of womanhood, start piping up with these topics, and it's like, oh, you're too young to know. But when is there an age to know? I'm thinking about myself now, and I'm only 32, but the word like menopause shouldn't be saved until I'm 50. Like, let me know now what's going on with my body, so that you can seek out the help. And it's the early intervention is something that we really promote in psychology, is getting these knowledge gaps filled early. And then that frames how we go through womanhood. And I think the more we know, the more curious we are. We actually begin to realize how powerful our bodies can be, because we know how to manipulate and adjust accordingly so that we can perform and show up for life as well. So I think, it's something I'm working on with young girls, and just getting them a little bit more wired with, what's happening, like being aware, tracking, monitoring, and not being afraid to, open up, and not waiting until, it's 25 and trying to scramble for an answer. So, yeah.
So I think I want to, in terms of navigating, let's switch on to menopause. Let's talk about menopause. How many of us are of menopausal age? I'm not of menopausal age.
Not here.
No?
Can I ask you, what age do you think you should be at menopause?
That's a good question. So when I think about menopause, I always think kind of like premenopausal. I might start thinking like early 40s, like 44, 45. And then when I'm thinking about menopause, I'm thinking like 52 specifically. And onwards, in terms of experience in menopause. But I think what I'm conscious of is that sometimes when we're experiencing life early 40s, we can mistake that for premenopausal. Like a lot of my friends are like, I think I'm premenopausal, but actually it's just a little bit of stress, or we're just absolutely exhausted and tired.
No, definitely right. Yeah, I think it.
But actually, and so it's not, we're not premenopausal. But I'm gonna let you kind of give your answer. What would you say is menopausal ages?
Well, there's quite a few girls that I work with, basically. So this lady, she's just 35, I think, and because I use my juices to help people, basically
Manage menopause,
yeah,
the transition of
it's
menopause.
not just it's just any problems, basically.
Okay.
The juices, they're tailored to regenerate your cells.
Okay.
And it detox you as well. So
Yeah.
the first thing that we need is one is a good detox. A lot of people don't believe in the good Jamaican washout and stuff, but we do need it to basically, when you do, when you've done the detox process, then you put back all the good gut bacteria inside of you, like
Right.
sauerkraut and stuff like very good for your gut. And then your diet is very important. So if you get somebody who's always eating, say, KFC, McDonald's, you're gonna have a bad time with your menopause periods. You're gonna have early on, because I've had girls like all 20 going into menopause, and
Oh,
we
wow.
check their diets, because what we do, we scan someone, see what is going on with them. And then after you scan, it's just a nutritional way of doing things, not the doctor's way. So we find out exactly what vitamins, the minerals that your body needs. And a lot of women, it's B6 or B12 or vitamin D, because we need a lot of vitamin D in our bodies. The sun, if you can't get the sun, there are supplements that you can use, but you've got to use the right ones. So, I mean, we have to change our lifestyle, basically, the way we eat, the way we think and stuff like that. And I find when I actually went through preeclampsia, it taught me so much about myself because I didn't know. I didn't know much about myself because my mom didn't teach me a lot about periods and stuff. You're too young to know.
What are some of the things we hear about menopause?
Well, it's going to be a hell of a time.
I hear it's going to be a hell of a
Literally,
time.
yeah. And I think that it is that, but you know, like I remember when I was younger, I mean, it was quite a rite of passage actually when I came on my period. I was very lucky. But I do remember before that going, oh God, and you might have to have a day off school when you know, on the first day, and that's pretty normal. And it's like, oh God, really? Like, is it that painful? Like, I'm going to have a whole, actually, I was buzzing, like, oh, a whole day off school, bonus, okay. But I do remember, like, it's just, I don't know, I feel like everybody loves to scare us.
I'm petrified. I'm not going to lie.
I don't think it has to be like that, though. I really don't. Because, I mean, I know women, that's from a perspective of a kind of, you know, you talk about matriarchy and everything else, like, that when you move into menopause, like you are the wise woman, like it's the wisdom.
I'm already wise. Wise enough. I don't need the menopause to tell me that I'm wise.
But from a perspective of we've gone through those like
it,
bleeding years, right? And then we're now like, we can pass down that knowledge, you know, if we kind of go back in time to when we were just villagers and women used to go into the red tent and all that kind of stuff. It's like that it was the wise women who had gone through menopause, who had a life and lived their life, that they were passing down the knowledge to the kind of younger women to be able to then, you know, live life the way that they needed to. And I think we've kind of come so far away from that, from it being almost like made to be this horrible process, when actually I don't think it is. I'm not there yet, but I don't.
But isn't that because the narrative around menopause predominantly is
hot flushes?
Yeah, it's
hot flushes and
quite-
brain fog.
Yeah, hot flushes, brain fog, leaving sunglasses and phones in the fridge.
Yeah.
And
Mania. It's that kind of old
literally like going to work and doing presentations
and that's
having hot sweats.
I mean, without being, you know, man bashing, it's that patriarchal idea of like being a woman. Does it need to be like that? No, I don't think it does.
But I don't necessarily think it is that patriarchal ideology of womanhood. I think that these are narratives that women give
100%.
themselves.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You think it's okay,
I think these are narratives that women give themselves. Now, in the workplace, I would say that actually there are times and spaces and moments within the workplace that women don't have space to actually address their health issues or address their natural changes that are taking place within the menopause or for periods or for menstruation cycle.
I think sometimes is that why women are having such a hard time, because it's the suppression of things.
Yeah,
you know, like is it that we've been made to fit in a box that is, you know, if you think how rapidly women have become more influential in society, and it's almost like our bodies haven't caught up with that yet, or society hasn't caught up, isn't taken into account our bodies.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I said, we work like we don't parent, or we don't have a family at home, and we mother like we don't work. We are everything to everybody. And actually our body's like, oh God, I just want to rest. I just want you to take into consideration you a little bit. And we don't do that. So are these kind of adverse effects of menopause and menstrual cycles, the fact that we're not giving our body really what it needs? Yeah,
Or
I don't know.
Always
From a curiosity
society not giving us what.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
See, I don't agree with listening to the body. I don't agree with like changing like the way what we do and the way we are. I don't know if it's just playing sport but I just feel like whatever emotion I'm feeling, that's just my body, but I need to work through that and just get over it. Because like, for example, the males are doing that. And, you know, when you grow up as a female in a male-dominated sport, it's like we want to be better than them. So I know that they're not going through the emotions and everything else, and your body changing throughout the months. And, you know, you have days where you just don't want to get out of bed, but then I have to force myself to do that. And it's like when girls are bringing notes in and the school kind of agree with it. And it's like, come on. Like,
So is there? I suppose the question I've got is that is there a difference between having a passion for something and doing something because you're passionate about it? So no matter what the experience is that you're having in the moment, mentally, emotionally, physically, your passion for that particular thing says, I'm going to get up and do it regardless.
I just don't want my body to dictate the way I perform. You know,
Okay.
I don't want my emotions to take over.
Which I totally agree with.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if it's
'Cause that sounds like
women's
passion.
health or mental health, but like, I don't want to wake up and just because I've got a stomach ache because I've come on period, me not being able to train or me being low because that's what women do during that month that we go up and down. I just want to be up all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of them.
I need every day.
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing point, but I do wonder about the role for you specifically of intrinsic motivation. That mentality that you have has been trained. Do you know what I mean? You know, not everybody responds in that way all the time just yet. So I'm wondering like whether motivation plays a role versus passion. I'm wondering out loud.
I would like to say that there is a motivation, there is a passion in that, there is a desire to. I think when you have a desire to live your life in a particular way, and that desire then has you then have to align your body with that desire. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
Especially if you have an understanding of your body. So you sound like you have a really good understanding of what your body needs. And I think it's okay when you have an understanding of your body.
Yeah.
I think it can be dangerous when you've got somebody who doesn't have an understanding of their body, has a need, but then tries to identify their needs using lots of either different substances or they have different, they engage with different ideologies, or they begin to practice different activities in order to achieve a particular goal or a particular look. We were talking about girls wanting young women and women wanting to be slim at the moment, and the level of medication and body transformations they will go through in order, enhancements they will go through to get that. And I think that's completely different to what you're saying. Completely different. Like there's a level of consciousness
And
in what you're
dedication,
talking
yeah.
about,
I think
and
that's it.
dedication.
I think that is it's a really unique situation that you're in. Not everyone's a sports person, and it sounds like you have been very much a sports person all your life, from football to now boxing. So I think it's an amazing dedication. It's like the everyday women who are just kind of working and wanting to get through the day, unfortunately don't. Like with me, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah, but
When I want my bed, I just want my bed. Just forget it. Like. Okay. Question to everyone. If you could have a conversation with your younger self about the menopause and about your menstruation cycle, what would you say to your younger self?
I would say you're not supposed to be the same every day. That's my thing, because I think the biggest thing for me is that I thought there was something wrong with me because I wasn't the same every day, or I didn't just show up the same every day. So I would say that, and I would say it's okay to tweak life every now and again. And okay, aside all that, your needs are also important, because I think that I pushed my needs to the side, made sure everyone else was good, didn't really listen to myself. And then that came out in not a good way. So I think that was the most important thing for me.
No.
I would say that our bodies, our female bodies, are strong and they are adaptable and built for purpose. To everything that there is a season. We have menopause for a reason. We have menstruation for a reason. I'm a Christian, so I believe in purpose by design. And I would say to young Mel, to learn more about cycles so that you understand how you work and how best to respond and how to make adaptations so that you can flourish in life. And I would use that information to I'd hope to use that information to impact how I approach my life. I think I would be more mindful about the energy that I give, the energy that I take or I consume. I'd be mindful about how I recover and bounce back from things. I'd be more mindful about self-care because of what's happening to me, and that's okay. And also, you know, it's powerful. Our bodies are powerful and they're capable of so much. But when they're going through these cycles, you can't expect it to just be maintained by themselves. There is a responsibility for you, young male, to look after yourself and to be mindful about what's happening in your body, so that you can capitalize it and live powerfully.
Thank you. What would you say to your younger self, Dee?
Yeah, I would say, you know, I wish I knew, you know, a lot more, you know, because I know so much now, but I didn't know then. But I wish I'd had that education when I was younger,
Yeah.
you know, so I could face some of the, you know, problem that I go through in regards to periods and menopause and stuff like that. Because sometimes you feel like you're going through, like you're saying, and like it's not really what it is.
No.
You know, when you're going through a lot of stress, because our bodies take on so much.
Yeah.
But my point is to make sure you educate yourself about your body. And it's so important. And once you know, I mean, I don't go to the hospital anymore for 15 years.
Oh,
If
wow.
I have a headache, I know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, if my stomach hurt, I know what to do, you know, and basically I help my girls as well because I have 4 girls. So basically I teach them what I know now. But I wish I knew then what I know now, to be honest. Yeah. But I'm teaching my girls about saving.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's okay.
I think I'd just say, this is personally to me though. I think it's just a case of, for me, it's getting through it and being educated enough to know the differences. However, just push on and just get through it and not maybe not use it as like an excuse to alter anything in my life, and just get on with it.
I like your strength. I like it every day, Gambling. I like it.
But can I just say something? When you get older, we're gonna feel it. You understand? It's like our body's not designed like men's. They're totally different from us. You know. So what I'm saying is, you've got to be able to. Once you see the signs, you got to be able to take control of it. As in, you know, give your body the right nutrients and vitamins that it needs, and don't just take any old one. Go to the real source and take, and because it really does help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll just end up running myself into the ground, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I'll become world champion. It'll be fine.
You're gonna retire and then start thinking about it. I hear it. I think I would say to my younger self, it's not scary. It's all really natural. And there are days where you're going to exaggerate. I'll be like, Michelle, there are days you're going to exaggerate, and sometimes you do just need to get up and get on with it. But there are going to be days where actually your body said, lie down, just lie down. Like, don't think you need to get up and get and crack on. And I'll be saying, be kind to yourself on those hard days where actually it does feel like menopause, but it doesn't, but it's not. Love on yourself anyway. And with that, I'm going to hand back over to Tanya.
Kirsty, I need to sit and chat to you. Kirsty was saying she know business. Minute in do you speak Patwa? You speak Patwa, Kirst?
No.
You were saying, me no business. I'm just going to carry on regardless. I just want to say shout out to all of you.